Stand by to initiate release sequencer. On my mark. 5.
We're on express elevator to hell. Going down.
2. 1. Mark.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mark, a.k.a. Derringer. Today is Sunday, January 14th, and you are listening to episode 140 of the Instant Action Podcast, your weekly source for Planetside 2 news and information. As always, I'm brought to you by great listeners like you via the Support the Show tab on instantactionpodcast.com. So what's been going on with my life? Well, a lot of Planetside 2 play now that the snowstorm here is completely gone. Funny thing is, I was talking about how awful the snow was on last week's show. Well, this past Friday, it got to 60 degrees here in Massachusetts, and it rained all day Friday, most of the morning Saturday, and the 14 to 16 inches of snow is completely gone. I mean, it's all gone. I can't believe that we went from having that much snow to now having absolutely no snow. Of course, my sump pump is going constantly in the basement right now because the water table is extremely high, but fingers crossed, no flooding, no anything like that going on for me. Everything is good here. So, like I said, playing a lot of Planetside 2 lately. Got that platinum lasher, and I've been working on it as much as I could. I think I got to 300 kills on it, so definitely working my way to the 1160. I'm also splitting time between that and the anchor. I'll talk about that later in the show because I've almost Araxium that. I'm less than 100 kills away on that. But other than that, not too much is going on. I did want to say, if any of you have one of the Amazon Echo devices, that I did find that you can play my podcast on them. I have a Echo Dot on my desk down here at the computer, so let's take a listen and see what happens. Alexa, ask Stitcher to play the Instant Action Podcast.
Playing the Instant Action Podcast.
Listening to episode 139 of the Instant Action Podcast. Your
Alexa,
weekly source.
Stop.
So as you can see, it definitely does play the Instant Action Podcast. So if you guys have an Amazon Echo, an Echo Dot, any of those things, add the Stitcher app to it, and then, or the Stitcher skill to it, and then you too can listen to the Instant Action Podcast on your Amazon Echo, like I have been for a little while now. So other than that, what's in store for this week's show? Well, first we have a pair of very small hotfixes to talk about on both the PC and the PS4. Then the real meat of the show, the January 11th PTS update, which was teased on last week's show based on a couple of tweets that Rel sent to me. After that, I want to specifically talk about Doku's new LMGs that also hit the PTS, and then I'm going to finish up with some Nanite Appreciation Week hype and stuff like that. So strap in as we hot drop into another episode of the Instant Action Podcast. So first up, like I said, two quick updates to talk about. First, they're both on January 9th. First is the PC hotfix. And again, it was the smallest hotfix I've ever seen them report. But Sky Shield is no longer capable of being placed infinitely. And they also introduced a speculative fix for the zone crashes that people were experiencing. Again, that's all that was in this hotfix, so super small, super tiny. The zone crash one is an important one, though, because I've been affected by that one a couple times where I would just get completely logged out of the game or the game would crash or whatever. And I know I'm not the only one who is experiencing that, so glad to see that they have a fix in for the zone crashes. Then, like I said, same day, there was also a PS4 hotfix. And on this one, the safe fall implant should now protect from fall damage as it's supposed to. The target focus implant should now show enemy health bars. The counterintelligence implant now spots the enemies upon receiving damage. And you can also now remove the HSNV optic from the Jackhammer AE variant. Again, that was something that happened on the PC side but didn't get fixed on the PS4 side. Biggest thing for the PS4 side, obviously, is those 3 implants should now be working as expected or as designed. And I know a lot of people on the PS4 side have been complaining about a lot of the implants not working as they were supposed to be working. So it's good to see Daybreak Games jump on this and make sure that that is fixed as well. Like I said, they were extremely small, just some bug fixes, and so that's why they are hot fixes. And with that, let's move on to the big thing from last week. And that big thing is the January 11th PTS update. Again, some of this stuff was tweeted at me by Rel last week, and I teased some of it on last week's show. I even put a pretty big Reddit post up about this that got a lot of eyes on it and a lot of responses. So what did we actually get in the January 11th PTS update? Again, if you are a newer listener, PTS public test server, it is only available on the PC side of the game. It's a separate program that you do need to download and install and keep updated. I update mine constantly so I can see all these various new things. But starting off in the PTS update, there were some vehicle bases and lattice adjustments that have been made. So first, 3 new vehicle capturable bases have been added to Esamir and Indar, and 2 additional vehicle capturable bases have been added to Amrish. And these open areas contain a single capture point, but the kicker is that they can also be fortified with construction objects to create a fortress of your own design. In addition, they've made some adjustments to some of the base capture points and lattice connections to reduce some other map stagnation that they found and increase lane flexibility. If we start off on Indar, they added a new base called Sunken Relay Station, and this now has lattice links to Howling Pass and Mao Watchtower. And when we actually look at the Indar map, if you're not familiar with that is, we're talking that's up in the northeast corner of the map. Takes up a lot of the areas where the abandoned NS offices used to be. So that's a lot of open field in that particular area outside of Howling Pass before you get to either Mao Southeast or Mao Watchtower. So good that they add some new area in there. And again, like I said, this is new territory that has a vehicle capturable point on it and that you can also build construction on top of. And that's going to be called the Sunken Relay Station. Next, also on Indar, they added one called Burgess Checkpoint, and that has lattice links between Regent Rock Garrison and Scarred Mesa Skydock. Again, this is on the southern portion of the map. As we know, between Regent Rock and Scarred Mesa, there's the double bridge area, but there's a lot of open field between those 2 bases. So for them to put some new lattice links to a point there, and also put a vehicle capturable base in that area sounds pretty cool. I'm curious to see how those 2 bridges kind of interact with that. I've seen a lot of construction bases built in the middle area between those 2 bridges already. So like I said, it could be kind of cool to see what actually happens there. And the third one added is now called Lowlands Trading Post, and this has lattice links to Indar X and Quartz Ridge Camp. So again, that's the western side of the Indar map itself. As we know, traveling between Quartz Ridge and Indar X, that's a huge playground for vehicle play, so it only makes sense to include a vehicle capturable point there because, I mean, let's be honest, you've already got a whole bunch of vehicles running around in that area anyways, and it also makes sense because you've got that building in the middle there, and you've also got that rock outcropping that people tend to hide behind. Good to have something that you can build in that particular area that will force maybe some defense for the attackers, either going towards Quartz Ridge or Indar X. I definitely understand why they put that there as well. The only other change is they've removed the construction no deploy zone where the abandoned NS offices used to be. So that just makes sense with the first changes made between the Howling Pass and Mao. watchtower, particularly there. All right, moving on to Amrish. The first new base is called the Soulless Nature Annex, and it has lattice links to Zealous Northgate and Silver Valley Arsenal. And this is right on the eastern side of the map itself, as we all know who fondly remember it. That area is where subterranean nanite analysis used to be. So you can see now that they've got the new one, Soulless Nature Annex. I wish they had named it. Well, the funny thing is, obviously, Soulless Nature Annex is still SNA. So the other one used to be Subterranean Nanite Analysis. So funny to see that they are both SNA. So you can still call it SNA between Zealous Northgate and Silver Valley Arsenal. Next, Cobalt Geological Outpost has been added, and that has links to Cobalt Communications, West Pass Watchtower, and the Scarfield Reliquary. And that's over on the western side of Amrish. If you look at that area between, the triangle that's Cobalt, Scarfield, and West Pass, there is a ton of open area there and a pretty long road between Cobalt Communications and West Pass Watchtower. Not surprised that they would put something like that in that particular area. So again, you've got a lattice link between all three of those now and a vehicle captural base now on Amrish. Some other adjustments done to Amrish itself include some expanded Sunder and construction no deploy zones on Lithcorp Central. They adjusted some of the Biolab capture point building geometry, and also the Sungri Westgate received some more spawn room cover. Next, moving on to Esamir, the first new base is now called Tap Way Station. That's 2 P's in Tap, and that has links between Andvari Frozen Reservoir and Pale Canyon Chemical. Again, this is another instance of a base or two bases that have a very long drive time, I guess it were, between the two of them. There's a decent road connecting the two, but I can certainly see a nice area in the middle there where people can build construction and stuff like that. In fact, I've seen countless people just zerging across that area, so absolutely makes sense, in my opinion at least, to include a new vehicle capturable point there. Next, they've added the BL4 recovery point, and that has lattice links to East River Sky Station and the Terran BL4 crash site. And we look at that one. That one's over on the eastern side of the map itself. Right now, like I said, you've got tons of open area between East River Sky and Terran BL4. I'm not surprised once again that they've got a construction zone built in between those. Again, I see a lot of vehicles spawning at East River Sky and heading over to Terran BL4, so it only makes sense to include something like that in that particular area. And the final one added to Esamir is called Untapped Reservoir, and that's going to have lattice links to Rime Analytics and Matherson's Triumph. So for those, that's obviously going to be right in the middle of the map itself. I've always thought the Rime Analytics to Matherson's Triumph link was, lattice link is kind of silly anyways because it cuts through the hexes of Isotech and ISA Mining. So if they're going to throw one over in the middle and connect those two better, it kind of makes more sense. Again, you do have a long drive time between Matherson's Triumph and Rime Analytics, so including a vehicle capture point and construction zone between those two absolutely makes sense to me as well. So again, those are the, 6, 7, 8 new construction and vehicle capture points that were added on the PTS right now. I know that last I checked, all of the continents are unlocked on PTS. So if you want to check out what these new links look like, you can go and actually fly over them, drive around them, play at them, and actually see what they exactly look like. I know I read some complaints about some of these, but again, I just went through all of them and explaining where they are, what the links are between the two of them, and they all make perfect sense to me. I see in every instance, I've seen countless people just zerging across that open area. So it completely makes sense to me. And why not include construction buildable areas between those two and throw in vehicle capture points just for shits and giggles? Again, I think all those bases make perfect sense to me. The other changes that were made, we've included some lattice links between Manny Fortress and Manny Tower and Manny Lake Satellite. These are all around Manny Biolab. At Andvari Biolab, there's some lattice links between Andvari Barracks and Andvari Frozen Reservoir, and also Andvari Frozen Reservoir and Andvari South Bank. Ymir Biolab, they've got some lattice links from Ymir Southern Reach to Ymir Mine Watch, and lattice links from Ymir Mine Watch to Ymir Eastern Way Station. They also added a lattice link between Echo Valley Substation and Knot Communications. Apex Genetics now has a lattice link to Rhyme Analytics. They removed the lattice link between Rhyme Analytics and Cerro Listening Post. They expanded the Sunder No Deploy Zone at East River Sky Station. They took the A point at Cerro Listening Post and moved it out of the tower and converted it into a vehicle capture point to the east of the base. And the A point at the Traverse is also now a vehicle capture point. So going through those and also adding in, like I said, all those bases that just got added, we do have a bunch more vehicle capture points on all kinds of continents. And if you're a person who is in your vehicle constantly, this is something good for you. Next, they're also working on a refresh of the construction system itself, and all this is also on the PTS. They've started adjusting it, and the goal is to improve its combat dynamic while also lowering the barrier to entry and integrating the system in a way that aligns more with the spirit of the game. So that means the most useful bases are not the ones in a hole in the corner of the map, which I've seen more than my share of those. They also would like to see construction bases require more teamwork to endure attacks, instead of having just one particular person create something that a platoon can drop and clear it out without really any breaking a sweat whatsoever. The main goal is that if you want your structures defended, then you're going to need allies to do that. So other changes. So what are these changes, I guess, actually? So the biggest one is that cordium costs have been heavily reduced for construction objects. And we're talking a 50 to 75% reduction. And they're also discussing a future reduction for certification prices as well to actually buy the blueprints for them. Repair modules are no longer going to cast invulnerability on construction objects. Instead, they're going to repair nearby constructs based on their type. Fortified constructs, turrets, and modules all repair at different rates, and they have not yet finalized those particular rates. So whatever you play with on the PTS, there will be more changes coming. The Skywall Shield's emitter, which used to make you catch on fire after you fell through it and start burning, you're now going to be EMP'd if you are an enemy infantry player who falls through it. And they have also increased the damage that it does to vehicles. So I kind of like this one, basically getting EMP'd as you fall through it. So it doesn't feel so bad falling through the Sky Shield emitter anymore. But it still does pack a little bit of a punch for anybody that falls through. Because obviously if you get EMP'd, you're losing all your shields and stuff like that. The Elysium spawn tube also received some resistance adjustments to make it more susceptible to certain types of attacks that could be out-repaired from engineers sitting inside of the spawn tube itself. So it's more susceptible to small arms, to infantry rocket launchers, to anti-material rifles, to tank shells, to light anti-vehicle weapons, and also air-to-ground warheads. So again, all of this is so that if you're an engineer sitting inside the Elysium spawn tube, you're not going to be able to out-repair all those different types of shots that are hitting it any longer. Next, a new tool called a welding device is available from Ants and Silos in the Field Tools category. And what this tool is going to do, it's going to allow players of any class to repair construction objects, but not vehicles, at a bit of a reduced rate. So certainly now if you've got your construction buildings all up and everything, and you're getting attacked, now anybody can run and grab from an ant or a silo a welding device and help repair some of the things that are being destroyed. Also, speaking of the and itself, the yellow jacket and howler mining lasers will now work as siege weaponry, so they're going to deal damage over time to constructed objects. Currently, you're not going to get any experience for this on PTS, but they do expect experience to be awarded for doing that when this stuff moves to live. So again, you can use the yellow jacket and howler mining lasers to actually do damage to constructed objects. Next, they've also moved around the construction categories and reorganized them so that they look and feel more conducive to the flow of base building, and ultimately in a hope that they make more sense. And finally, they are talking about removing or repurposing hives altogether because they don't really feel that they want them to continue to be a requirement of alerts, because they're not happy with the cordium refinement that's required to trigger an alert. But before they do anything like that, they need to get a better account of how all the revisions that they've made to construction play out, because they want to make sure that construction still feels like a valuable service once they think about removing the hive requirement for launching an alert altogether. So again, like I said, a lot of changes to construction are out there on the PTS. If you're someone who does a lot of construction, I do think it's time for you to get out there and play around with it. I'm curious or would love to hear from people that are actually building bases on some of these new bases, how that's going for you as well. But moving along, let's talk about the new Empire-specific LMGs. Because as we know, these are the new models released by Doku. They're following hot on the heels of the submachine guns that came out in December. So again, there's a new LMG for a light machine gun for each faction. The Vano Sovereignty get the VE-H Maw. The new Conglomerate get the MGR-L1 Ballast. And the Terran Republic get the MG-H1 Watchman. I'm going to talk a little bit more about these in the next topic on this week's show. So moving along, there were some other infantry adjustments made to the PTS itself. The Canis, the unstable ammo, no longer penalizes the cone of fire, and they did increase the base rate of fire from 500 RPM to 550 RPM. The Jackal got its base projectile velocity increased as well from 350 to 400. And they are looking at its BX adapter because they think that they're going to give it some more adjustments in the future to beef it up a bit, to bring it more in line with the Canis and the Gladius. Speaking of the Gladius, it had its default magazine size reduced. It's now only got 26 rounds in it, but it did have its ammo capacity increase from 168 to 182 to compensate for that. Again, because they feel the Gladius is just a little bit stronger at this point. Next, some vehicle adjustments on the PTS. The Saren LRB, this is the nose gun on the Scythe itself. It had its magazine reduced from 65 to 60, and this is basically based on player feedback because they feel the Scythe is a little bit stronger, especially using the Saren LRB against other ESFs. Next, we had a bunch of changes coming to the Galaxy. I think Galaxy pilots will probably rejoice for some of these. First is the addition of a new defensive slot item called the Lock-On Jamming Field. And basically, while this is equipped, it will passively protect allied vehicles from lock-on attempts and proximity-based lock-ons. But it's not going to defend the Galaxy itself. And we've got 4 ranks on this. At rank 1, it operates within 100 meters. And at rank 4, it operates within 150 meters. And the goal here is to add a new route for support capabilities when accompanied by allied vehicles faced with the specific threat of lock-on or proximity lock projectiles from ground vehicle or air. This does nothing to flak. You're still going to get hit by flak as normal. And obviously it's still a work in progress, but something they're looking to push out. I think it's an interesting idea. I mean, I'm hoping that on the other end of this, like the person with the lock-on, you might get a notification on your screen that the lock-on jamming field is in effect, because it would certainly be annoying for new players specifically if they had this up and had their lock-on rocket launcher up and then couldn't lock onto a vehicle for one reason or another. So Maybe it's just something like lock-on jamming field will pop up on your screen or something to let you know. I would hope something like that would be considered. Next, the Nanite proximity repair system of the Galaxy got some changes. They increased the maximum range for air vehicles from 50 to 75 meters. And they also redid the tooltips to better describe it. The vehicle ammo dispenser of the Galaxy got some changes as well. It no longer has different resupply ranges for both air and ground vehicles. They increased the ranges across the board, and it now affects all vehicle types no matter what they are. So if you have rank 1, it's going to be 50 meters for all vehicles. It used to be 50 for air, 40 for ground, all the way up to rank 4, where it's now 100 meters for all vehicles, where it used to be 95 for air and 85 for ground. And it's really intended to promote the support capabilities of the Galax and to hopefully reduce mid-air collisions from friendly vehicles. Next, the Liberator got some changes as well. First off, the Afterburner in the utility slot is no longer going to take up the utility slot. It is now 100% integrated into the vehicle, just like it is on ESFs. You can now upgrade the skill line through the passive cert area. The regeneration rate of the default Afterburner is 40 seconds. The first rank is going to reduce that regeneration rate to 30 seconds. And basically, the reason for this is that Afterburner was best in slot for the Liberator as long as it's been in play. So they're looking to change that up a bit and give Liberator pilots the ability to put something else into their utility slot. It is worth noting that these certification costs have changed slightly. It actually cost a little bit less for the first 4 ranks. The 5th rank has not changed. Also on the Liberator, the Bulldog in your tailgun had a direct damage increase from 250 to 400, and its intention is to reward aim against light armored targets like ESFs and harassers, which should move the shots from burning and kill from 5 or 6 down to 3 or 4, and that's on ESFs. On the harasser, from 7 or 8 down to 4 and 5. Speaking of the harasser itself, it had some resistances added to the tank cannon, and basically its sole purpose is to reduce the number of main cannon shots to kill a harasser by 1. So if you're in a main battle tank, you should be able to hit and kill. You should be able to kill harassers quicker than you currently can. Finally, some bug and other miscellaneous fixes. The 3 biggest ones that I want to talk about: first, the /squad promote me command will now show the name and description of the person making the request. Obviously, that's the bug that I talked about a few weeks ago that had a lot of players up in arms. Also, a join combat prompt will appear for idle players below BR20, encouraging them to join the fight. I like this idea. I do wish it was for more than BR20. I think bump it up to BR60, maybe bump it up to BR80, make it much more, because you get a lot of people just sitting around doing nothing. Reminding them that join combat is a viable option is not a bad idea. Finally, the last bug I want to talk about, or other fix that I want to talk about, is that they did ultimately disable friendly fire on Coal Tier. So again, another reason to go check out Coal Tier on the PTS. And I'm looking forward to that coming to live. So again, pretty decently sized PTS update. A lot of changes to the map itself. I'm looking forward to seeing those. And I've been playing around with the LMGs on PTS, so let's talk about those next. So yes, Doku's LMGs on PTS, or as he called them on Reddit, erotically shaped love-making gadgets, which I found quite amusing. Again, we got 3 new LMGs created by Doku, designed by Doku, graphics designed by Doku. Don't forget, any in-game abilities or ammo types or things like that. That's designed by the developers, not by Doku. He just made the beautiful, beautiful images that are out there. So let's go down the list. First, Vanu Sovereignty, you got the VEH Maw, like I said before. I have not had a chance to play with any of these in a live fire exercise, as it were, because there's not been a lot of people on PTS to actually fight. But I did play around with these in the warp gates themselves. And my opinion of the Maw itself, it's an anchor clone with a larger magazine size and the ability to make the projectiles that come out increased size via unstable ammo, just like the Canis. I feel that the anchor is the go-to heavy assault weapon on the NC. And when I play heavy assault, I use the anchor almost exclusively. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I've almost finished up Araximid. I'm less than 100 kills away. So I can really see myself using the Maw a lot on Vanu if I start playing that more. Again, I'll have to finish Araximing up the Platinum Lasher before I get there. Maybe I can work on that before the Maw is actually released. But if you are an NC player, this is going to be the first weapon that you're going to purchase if you move over to VS once these things actually come to live. I like it. I'm a little disappointed that it has a larger magazine size than the Anchor, which will give me a little bit to get used to. Now, the one thing that's added to the Maw itself is it's got a wacky reload animation. So if you reload before your clip is empty, it reloads as normal. If you empty your entire clip shooting at somebody, the animation acts like it gets too hot, and you have to take your hand off and kind of wave it in the air a little bit to cool it down before you can reload it. It's kind of a silly animation, but it makes it so you really don't ever want to fully use up all the ammo before reloading. There is an attachment that you can put on, but you have to sacrifice using the forward grip. And I don't know that I would sacrifice the forward grip on the Maw in order to beat out this extended reload time. Instead, I'll just continue to reload before the clip actually empties. But it's something that you'll have to be aware of as you use it. Next, the new conglomerate, the MGR-L1 Ballast. If you want to distill it down into everything, it's basically a Carve S for the NC. So if you're a TR player who knows how to use the Carve well, you'll be able to use the Ballast pretty well as well. Just like the Gladius, it has the SPRW ammo, which increases the velocity on the ballast by 25%, but reduces the magazine size by 25 rounds. So you got to decide if that trade-off is worth it for you. Now, my real complaint with the ballast right now is the model itself has a handle that sticks out to the upper right-hand side of the gun, and obviously it's for if you were running down the battlefield, you could grab this thing by its handle and carry it, and it would be an easy way for you. And I've seen this on heavy weapons that are existing heavy weapons. I mean, for example, if you Google light machine gun, you can go to Wikipedia and you can see some examples. Like the M249 Saw has a handle on the top of it. The Heckler and Koch MG4 that Germany uses has a handle on the top of it. The Bren light machine gun has a handle on the top of it. You can see what I mean when you're looking at these things. But the ballast itself has that handle on the top of it. Now, it looks fine from a looks standpoint, but when you're aiming down sight with it, the handle itself takes up the entire right-hand side of your screen. And it's going to be a real distraction, and you're going to have a real tough time seeing enemies coming at you from your right when you're aiming down sights on this. I don't know how I feel about it, and I really think that I probably will not use the ballast just because of this design itself. I ADS a lot, so not being able to see things on the right side of my screen is probably going to be an issue. It also does have a decent conifire bloom when you're standing still and just holding down the trigger itself, so you don't want to use this in long bursts. And finally, since it's a 143 damage LMG, it's basically on par with the EM1. So I'm kind of meh about this gun altogether. I play NC a lot, and just because of these detractions and because I'm not really a fan of the EM1, I cannot see myself purchasing the Ballast at any time soon. Just my opinion on it. So finally, Terran Republic, you get the MG-H1 Watchman, which this thing's basically a torque version of an LMG. If anybody has used the torque, you love it because, as a medic, you love it because it has a high rate of fire, a low cone of fire bloom, fast velocity, fast reload. All that stuff is pretty much baked into the Watchman itself. You also get access to impact ammunition, which increases its damage from 100 to 112, but reduces the magazine size by 25. I was out there on PTS firing this thing, and because it has a 125 round magazine, you can just spray so much ammo downrange. It is not funny. I really like it. It looks really good. It's the longest of all the LMGs that are put out there. I mean, these things look, just on aesthetics alone, these things look absolutely amazing. I'm so proud of the work Doku put into making these things. I mean, really, the Watchman looks more like a mini chain gun than the mini chain gun itself does. As a VS player, though, I think I am really looking forward to playing around with the Maw more than anything else on these. But with that, let's move on to our final topic, and we'll revisit these things when they actually come back to live. And our final topic is just some news about Nanite Appreciation Week. And so you're asking yourself, Derringer, what is Nanite Appreciation Week? Well, basically every year or past couple years, last year it was a full week. The week before that it was just a weekend. I think in 2015 it might have just been a day. But Nanite Appreciation Week means that everything that was on sale during the 31 days of Araximus comes back on sale during this week. So it's really an awesome chance to pick up anything that you might have missed because you weren't available for one day or another. I know a lot of people were in school during that time doing midterms or finals or things like that. So I know a lot of people missed out on some of those things. So this is a great opportunity for you to pick those up. I mean, for me, it's going to be my chance to at least grab the Platinum Jackhammer. That's the one thing that I missed out on or should have purchased and didn't get around to purchasing. Because I was too giddy about the Platinum Lasher. I'm also going to consider, again, whether to grab the AVA or the Nomad or the Zealot armor bundles. I thought those were a really good deal, but I just didn't pull the trigger on them. And maybe also the Heatwave weapon bundle, even though I'm not really sold on the Heatwave weapons currently. But I guess the other thing, if you're excited about all the construction changes in the PTS, then maybe you'll look at the construction logistics set too. But I'm kind of hesitant to do that since the PTS notes say that they're probably looking at changing the cert costs for a lot of construction stuff too. So that could mean that they change the DBC cost of some of those as well. But we did get why am I talking about Nanite Appreciation Week? Well, that's because on Reddit, Roxley confirmed that it is coming again this year, and it will be here at the end of January. And seeing that we're about halfway through January, it's right around the corner. I'm going to do some speculation on when we're going to get this thing, because someone asked if it was going to be from the 22nd through the 28th. That's a Monday to a Sunday. And Roxley specifically said, well, she didn't say no, but she said that they should be okay. And that leads me to believe, based on last year, where it ran from the 27th until February 3rd, a Friday to a Friday, that if I had to guess, if it's running the same time, that we'll probably get it from the 26th of January to the 2nd of February. Also a Friday to a Friday. But again, don't quote me on it. I'm just basing it on what Roxley had suggested it could be. I mean, it could be this Friday to the 26th, 19th to the 26th. I'm not 100% sure. No one's 100% sure unless you work for Daybreak Games. But again, if you missed out on anything during the 31 days of Araxmas, do not fear. It's all coming back. And with that, let's move on to housekeeping this week.
Housekeeping. Housekeeping.
Come back later, please.
Housekeeping.
Not now.
Housekeeping.
Go away.
I coming anyway?
Unfortunately, it was another quiet week. No emails, no voicemails. You guys are making me sad, but that's okay. Everybody's busy. I get it. But I guess that's going to be it for this week's show then. So how can you get in touch with me or the show? As always, visit my website, www.instantactionpodcast.com. Send me an email, instantactionshow@gmail.com. Call me, leave me a voicemail, 347-4VM-4PS2 or 347-486-4772. Follow the show on Twitter @InstActPodcast or follow me on Twitter @TheDerringer. But in closing, as always, if you've enjoyed the show, please leave me a review on your podcast listening avenue of choice, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or anywhere else. Also, feel free to tell your friends and outfit mates about the show. And finally, thanks for listening and keep spamming that Join Combat, formerly known as Instant Action button.